It's time for some film review as I've rewatched all of Game 1 between the Pelicans and the Thunder. The good news, there's some really easy ways to get Brandon Ingram scoring again, and I'm going to tell you how. Some bad news, though, I have two trends you need to watch for the Pelicans on defense that could sink them in Game 2. Plus, how was the overall coaching in the first game of this series? It's a playoff edition of Locked On Pelicans. Let's go.
You are Locked On Pelicans, your daily New Orleans Pelicans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another edition of Locked On Pelicans, the daily podcast covering your favorite team, the New Orleans Pelicans and NBA, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, available wherever you get your podcasts and available on YouTube. I'm your host, Pelicans Insider, credential member of the media, Jake Madison, at NOLA Jake on Twitter, here with y'all on this Tuesday. Another day before we get to Game 2 of this series between the Pelicans and Thunder. But I rewatched Game 1. We're going to do some film review. No actual clips are going to be shown here. This is in a podcast form as well, and that wouldn't really work. But I rewatched everything, and we're going to break down some of what we saw and what the Pelicans can do differently to get a better understanding of what happened in Game 1. Today's episode of Locked On Pelicans is brought to you by Monopoly Go. I have a competitive side, and I'm a big fan of Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on classic Monopoly. So join your friends and download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store or Google Play. And of course, thank you for making Locked On Pelicans your first listen. Today and every day, we're here Monday through Friday, the #1 Pelicans podcast, covering everything you want, whether it's just the immediate reaction to Game 1, breaking it down even more in this episode here. When we've had about 24 hours to think about it a little bit more, we have coverage you're not going to get anywhere else, and that's going to extend into the offseason as well. So please subscribe wherever you get your podcast and join almost 10,000 Pelicans fans on YouTube as well and become an everydayer. That means you listen Monday through Friday. If you're an everydayer, let me know in the comments down below on YouTube. So let's start with Brandon Ingram. Look, this is the guy that's going to need to lead the team, and if he has a bad game, this Pelicans team is going to struggle. It's really going to come down to how well Brandon Ingram plays and how well CJ McCollum plays, and they were bad, flat out bad in this game. Brandon Ingram really struggled, 5 of 17 for just 12 points. And look, Lu Dort is a good defender. Lu Dort ain't that good of a defender. And rewatching this game, look, that was some very tough defense by Dort. He's basically in Ingram's jersey the whole time. So you can complain about the refs, but look, if they weren't going to call it, and they let a lot of physicality go on both sides of the ball here for the Pelicans as well as for the Thunder. The Thunder only took 13 free throw attempts. That's a low number there, right? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander only went 7 times. That's well below his average. So the Pelicans were whistle was weird. They were just letting a lot of things go. But look, if that's how it's going to be, that's how it's going to be. There's no point in complaining about it. There's no point in even coming on the show and complaining about it, right? Willie Green is not going to look at this team and be like, keep doing what you're doing. If you're getting a bad whistle or whatever the whistle is, you have to adapt and be ready for it. That's something that I've talked a lot about on the show recently. The officials are calling things differently since post-All-Star break. Why or what's going on with that doesn't matter in this moment. What matters is that's how it's going to be, and you need to be ready for it, because if you're hoping for something different and it doesn't happen, you're going to lose. So if they're going to let Lu Dort play that physical style of basketball, you need to do something about it. Simple as that. And look, both Brandon Ingram and the team didn't do themselves any favors when it came to this whatsoever. I rewatched, again, the whole game. I rewatched every single one of Brandon Ingram's shots. It's just a lot of iso ball, to be perfectly honest with you. And that's where he did himself really no favors with it. There were very few screening actions or off-ball actions to really get him going and get him some space that he needs, because that defense from Lu Dort was truly that good. So what should the Pelicans do? So one is continue to be aggressive. Keep driving and attacking, and don't just settle for mid-range jumpers that are contested when a dude is all over your body. That was one of the big reasons why Brandon Ingram kept missing. One of the things you need from him in this, and we talked about it in multiple shows, is for him to be aggressive and attack the basket. Just 3 shots in the restricted area, 2 of those coming in fast break situations, and that was it. So basically in the half court, there wasn't him trying to drive into the paint and score at the rim, an area that he's been really good at this year. So just do that. But he does need some help for that too, right? Or shoot more threes. That would be a thing. But he only took 2 in this game, including one that was truly a terrible attempt. So how do you get him some space from Lu Dort, right? More screening actions. And in particular, not just the big men in Larry Nance Jr. or Jonas Valanciunas. They're not too worried. The Oklahoma City Thunder are very fine with those guys getting the ball on a pick and roll, on a roll, and then going and scoring at the rim as long as it's not some of the other bigger threats. They think they can then recover over and take away those guys. So it's not just using Valanciunas and Nance in screening actions. It's using guys like Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, even CJ McCollum in those screening actions as well. Now, they ran, I think, 2 with Trey Murphy setting the screen for Brandon Ingram. This was something they also wanted to introduce against the Sacramento Kings as well, just to get Brandon Ingram going after he had that very poor game against the Lakers in the first play-in tournament game. So they need to make sure that that is working because Trey is such a threat. You know, he led the team in scoring in game 1, and he shot very well from 3, 5 of 12, 8 of 18 overall. He had a very good game, along with moving the ball and then the defense that he brought in that one also. So have him set screens for Brandon Ingram and pop out. That is going to take 2 guys off of Brandon Ingram and at least keep 1 on Trey Murphy. BI, though, if they don't immediately stay on Trey, needs to get him the ball. In one of those 2 screening actions you saw, you had Trey Murphy open if he just gets him the ball, and he just didn't make that pass. And instead just kind of seemed a little bit on hero ball, which is something CJ McCollum was doing too. Trust what the offense is. And Brandon Ingram said that after the game. In his post-game media availability, he talked about needing to kind of just trust his teammates a little bit and finding them, and that'll open things up. And I definitely think that that's a way to go. So more screening actions, multiple screens. Have Lu Dort fight through 3, 4 screens. Set one with Jonas Valanciunas. Then set another one with Trey Murphy and make him go through all of those bodies. If they're going to let you play physical, be physical back. That's where the team's not doing any favors for Brandon Ingram. That's on coaching. That's on the players to recognize this in the moment. It's also on Brandon Ingram to call for those sorts of screens rather than just try and kind of push against Lu Dort and drive into all of that. Another area where I think they can really improve some things, because you could see that Brandon Ingram was worried about Chet Holmgren. And a couple of times Chet Holmgren came over to contest his shots, and he looked a little bit rattled by that. Get Brandon Ingram the ball lower. Have him post up, get him the ball on the free throw line, particularly if Chet Holmgren is out of position and on the perimeter. And then it's just one move and go for Brandon Ingram, and you don't need to worry about Chet at that point in time. That's when he can use his length, his size over a guy like Lu Dort when you're closer to the basket. You can't use that size and athleticism. Oh, you can use the athleticism. You can't use the size and your long wingspan to score over him when you're at the 3-point line. Just get him the ball closer. Post him up, let him do one move and go over a guy like Lu Dort. And as long as Chet's not down there, if Chet's down there, don't do this. That's when you need to run multiple screening actions, different things like that. Someone will be open then. These are easy things that this team can do. None of this is revolutionary. It's things they should be doing more of. Part of it is BI's style isn't the most conducive to this sort of thing. So he needs to make concessions here too with how he wants to play. But the coaching staff also needs to put him in positions to succeed. And you saw a lack of that at times. And more on the coaching in the third segment of today's show. But you do this, he can have a big game. And if they do that, this one's winnable for them. The defense was, upon rewatch, okay. They held them to 94 points, and the defense can get better. I want to talk about that because there are 2 areas that I'm concerned with it that really pop out of you on the rewatch of Game 1. We're breaking down some film here in a Tuesday episode of Locked On Pelicans. On the defense, that's coming up here next. Things you need to keep an eye out for in Game 2. Right now, though, I'm excited to tell you about PrizePicks because PrizePicks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with over 3 million members. It's the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You pick more or less on the stat projection for 2 or more players, and then you watch the winnings roll in. And now you can win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000 with basketball, hockey, baseball, any entry you want today, right now on Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. Look, if you took Trey Murphy to have more than 2.5 3-pointers made, you would have won big. I expect him to have a big game again. Maybe that's the pick that you want here. They also offer quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types, and that's what makes Prize Picks the #1 fantasy sports app. So download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. That's up to $100 in a first-time deposit match when you download the Prize Picks app and use code LOCKEDONNBA. Prize Picks, pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Today's episode of Locked On Pelicans, we want to invite you to the NOLA Star Bar, right down the street from the Smoothie King Center for all your pre- and post-game libations. Also for the away games, if you're looking for a place to go watch Game 2, they're gonna have the game on there at NOLA Star Bar on their big screen. They have a pool table, video poker, internet jukebox, and karaoke every Wednesday night. They also feature over 100 worldwide spirits and a hefty selection of local beers. A true Pelicans fans bar. They even created and produced the Pelicans anthem called Fly, Pelicans Fly, complete with a music video. So join your Pelicans fans at NOLA Star Bar at 212 Loyola Avenue, 212 Loyola Avenue, open 7 days a week from 6 p.m. to 4 a.m. Check out the Pelicans anthem on the NOLA Star Bar page on YouTube as well. And thank you for making Locked On Pelicans your first listen today and every day. We are here Monday through Friday, the #1 Pelicans podcast covering everything you want to know about this Pelicans team here. So please subscribe wherever you get your podcast and join almost 10,000 Pelicans fans on YouTube as well. Look, it's not just the postseason that we're covering here. It'll be the offseason as well. The draft is getting set. The swap actually conveyed with the Milwaukee Bucks improved the Pelicans draft pick by like 2 spots. That's cool. We'll talk all about that once the season is over and we're looking towards the offseason for how this team can be even better. So please subscribe. Join on YouTube as well. Become an everydayer and tell a friend about the show. Listen Monday through Friday to Locked On Pelicans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. By the way, it's draft week. Your second listen should be Locked On Saints, Ross Jackson, breaking down everything black and gold. They're going to tell you who they're going to pick. So let's go back to kind of doing some film review. I rewatched Game 1, looked at all of Brandon Ingram shots, looked at a lot of things over and over again. I was really curious about this game. Did the Pelicans play well, or was this one not as winnable as you want? And I think upon further review, I don't know if that final score is as close as you actually think it was. 94-92, the Pelicans losing by just 2 points. Look, they absolutely had a chance to steal Game 1 here, and they played well enough to do it. Coming up short at the end. We'll get into the coaching in a minute when it comes to some of the late game execution and things. So the defense. 94 points is a really good number, particularly because the Thunder have one of the best offenses in the league, and they average 120 points. So you really held them well below that. But when you look at the shot quality from the Thunder in this game, particularly from 3, it was a lot of wide open shots, and I'll tell you the numbers here in a second. I think the Thunder are going to look at this and go, oh, we're not going to shoot that poorly again. We're not going to shoot that poorly from 3 on really good looks, and they were really good looks. And if you just get a couple more makes there, they start to run away with this game, and it's not particularly close. Every single one of the Thunder's 3-point shots was wide open. They went 10 of 32, or was open or wide open. So basically no one within 4 feet of them. None of those threes were contested particularly well. Yeah, you might watch the film and see someone with an arm open, but if they're still a foot or 2 away, it's not a true contest, right? You need to kind of really be on there. Now, when it comes to 3-pointers, the majority of 3-point shots are open or wide open. Very few players, very few teams take contested 3-pointers because that's kind of easy to block. You don't want to do that, right? That's a dumb thing to do, is taking contested 3-pointers. But for every single one to be open or wide open isn't great. And by comparison, the Pelicans took a couple of contested threes and different things like that. So neither team shot well from 3, which you could easily say here. The Thunder shooting 31.3%, the Pelicans shooting 28.2%. And that's where this can even out a little bit. But I like the shot quality for the Thunder a little bit more than I liked the Pelicans. They need to do a good job of closing out on shooters and making them feel uncomfortable. They didn't really do a great job in this game, and they're very lucky that the Thunder missed some shots. Now, I still liked some of what they did. This is not not to rag on it or be like the Pelicans played bad defense. They didn't, right? Letting Chet Holmgren go 2 of 6 is a good number. Trying to turn Josh Giddey into a scorer and letting him just miss because he's not a very good scorer is also good defense too. And when you want to try and look for ways to even this out, both teams shot poorly from 3. Both teams are good 3-point shooting teams. It won't remain that way. But at least force them to take a couple more contested looks, things like that. Part of it was they did do at times a good job of running some of those shooters off on the 3-point line. The Thunder were being smart. They're not going to take contested threes, so if you closed out on them, they just move the ball or do something else. That in and of itself is 3-point defense too, so don't get just purely blinded by the numbers there. The other thing, though, that was kind of concerning is the defense on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander here. So there was good in this. Herb Jones and Trey Murphy made him work. They made him work for his points. He did not have an efficient game, 28 points on 24 shot attempts. Not bad, certainly not good. Making him work is what you want, and Herb Jones did it in this game. So did Trey Murphy. Against both of them, he was just 2 of 12. 2 of 12. It was anyone else that he attacked and got switched on to him that is where he beat the Pelicans pretty badly, particularly, and this is not going to come as a surprise to many of you, against CJ McCollum. Lit him up in this game. He was 5 of 7 with CJ McCollum on him. He was 2 of 4 when Brandon Ingram was on him. And it was really just when him struggling when Herb Jones and Trey Murphy were on him. So what they did was they hunted those matchups. They really hunted those matchups. And it came down to that 3-point play where I don't really actually know if he was fouled upon rewatching this, where he drove in, got fouled by CJ, put up the shot, made it, went to the line, and was a 3-point play. They had Herb Jones on him to start. The Pelicans defense, we talked about this on the reaction show, likes to switch. But this is where the players and the coaching staff need to realize don't switch if you have a favorable matchup. If you have Herb Jones on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, if a screen comes, don't switch. Fight through it. Stick with him, right? Or just trap him and let the roll man go, right? Do that switch, but also kind of have Herb Jones stay there, right? Just double him. Hedge and recover is a great way to go about this because that is what left him isolated on CJ McCollum, and then he just attacked, right? We talked in the last segment about finding ways to get Brandon Ingram open, and it doesn't, it's not rocket science, some things here. This one here was Shai trying to get CJ on him and then going when that was the case. Not that hard to figure out that that's not going to be, that's a good thing for them and something bad for the New Orleans Pelicans. So avoiding those type of switching situations when you have the favorable matchup, you got to do something about the screen, right? It's not like they won't set a screen if Herb is on Shai, but don't just purely switch. Not when you have the right guy there. You need to have a better game plan from that. If you can have him go 24 points on 24 shot attempts, you have a very good chance at winning this game. This guy is going to finish 2nd or 3rd in the MVP voting. If you can limit him, the rest of the things, even though there's some depth there, falls apart for the Oklahoma City Thunder. If you don't let him get into the paint, he can't draw those fouls. Turn him into a jump shooter. He's a good shooter. Don't get me wrong. He's better at driving. And that's where he draws his free throws from, right? He can't do that move where he sticks his arm out, gets contact, and then goes up with the shot if you're not driving and there's not going to be contact because they're sagging off of you and daring you to shoot. And that is absolutely what the Pelicans need to be doing against this Oklahoma City Thunder team. And if they do that, they can limit him. Don't give up wide open 3-pointers. Try and contest them a little bit more. And again, almost every 3-pointer that's taken in the league is an open 3-point shot attempt. So limiting their number of 3-point attempts was a very good job by the Pelicans here, holding them below their season average to just 32. They take 34 and some change, every single game. So they did a good job of it. But try and contest them a little bit more or close out harder and limit some of the 3-point shot attempts that they can take because they're looking at that and going, oh, next game we're not going to go 10 for 32. We're going to make more and we're going to run away with this and win by 10 plus points. Now, again, what I said earlier in this segment, New Orleans isn't going to shoot 28.2% either, but they were having struggles on offense with getting Brandon Ingram going, getting CJ going. There's ways to turn this around. But you've got to recognize that and make those changes too. And I think the Pelicans definitely can, because these things really jump out at you when you rewatch the game. So coming up next, let's look at the coaching overall, particularly down the stretch. Was Willie Green good? Was Willie Green bad? Somewhere in the middle. I'm going to tell you right now, I thought he was pretty good, minus one or two little tweaks. That's coming up here next in today's episode of Locked On Pelicans. Right now, though, today's episode of Locked On Pelicans is brought to you by BetterHelp. Sometimes we all need the opportunity to get something off of our chest. Big or small, certain things can really start to get to you, and it's important to let that out, especially to someone who's unbiased in your life. So today, I want to say how I really feel about something. You might even be thinking about the same thing this week. The challenge rules in the NBA are weird. I don't know if I dig them. That was one of the funnier moments in the game when the Thunder challenged a call. The call got overturned to the Pelicans' ball, so not the result they wanted, but they kept their challenge because technically the call was overturned. Feels like this isn't the spirit of the rule, and we're like sticking too close to like rules as written versus the spirit of them. I don't particularly like that. So therapy can be different for everyone. Most of us have bigger problems than our favorite sports teams, and it's important to get things off your chest every once in a while. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be flexible and suited to your schedule. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA to get started. Today's episode of Locked On Pelicans is also brought to you by Monopoly Go. I've been tracking the leaderboards every day, keeping my eyes on the scores, putting my heart into it, and I'm super pumped to announce I'm in the top 5 on one of the tournaments right now. That's right. Obviously, I'm talking about the hit mobile game Monopoly Go. You've probably heard of it because it's been downloaded over 150 million times. It's a great twist on classic Monopoly, and you can play anywhere, anytime. Explore hundreds of Monopoly boards from Las Vegas to Camelot to the moon. There's a New Orleans board in there. Charge rent on iconic properties just like classic Monopoly. Charge your friends rent on your properties, or go after their Monopoly money by pulling off bank heists and taking wrecking balls to their landmarks. And then the leaderboards, my favorite part. You can see who the biggest Monopoly tycoon is and who's gone bankrupt. So get yourself on the charts. Download Monopoly Go now free on the App Store and Google Play. And thank you for making Locked On Pelicans your first listen. Today and every day, we're here, the #1 Pelicans podcast, doing a film review. Make sure you subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and join almost 10,000 Pelicans fans on YouTube. We're going to have all the coverage of this playoff series here. And look, it's fun. The Pelicans could have won that game. I'm excited for this series. I'm excited to see what keeps going and if the Pelicans can extend this one. And that game gave you reasons to be optimistic, but reasons to be concerned as well. We're trying to make sense of it all here. And become an everydayer. Listen Monday through Friday to the Locked On Pelicans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So let's look at head coach Willie Green in this game, because honestly, I thought he did a pretty good job. He's not a perfect head coach. He's not a perfect head coach. We know that. But overall, he had this team ready. They were competing. Wasn't great, wasn't pretty, but I think the number one thing was you're coming in the 8th seed, you're tired. Right? You played a game just 2 days before. You had 1 day of rest. The Thunder had a week off. And you came out and you really competed with them. And that is not always the case for these 8th seeds going in, just feeling like they're dead men walking. But that wasn't the case here. And I appreciated seeing that from this Pelicans team. So I'm hopeful that they can make the right kind of changes. We've seen Willie Green do a very good job of some quick turnarounds with some of these games. And if they can do that again here, they're going to be right back in it. But there wasn't a ton that I had to complain about with Willie Green. You know, if you want to look at that final possession, you know, it was designed to get CJ open. And then going against Case and Wallace, the ball got poked away. And I think the whole play just kind of fell apart from there. I'm not really sure what the play call was, but it wasn't that, right? Like, it was more just really good defense by the Oklahoma City Thunder that kind of wrecked that possession, whatever it could have been for New Orleans. And they still managed, and it was more lucky than good. They still managed to get off a good look. It was luck that they got it there, right? That wasn't the play call, but at least they got a good look off, and there's something to be said for that. Would have been better to get a better look with a little bit less panic there. But overall, that's not on Willie Green. That's on CJ McCollum, you know, getting the ball poked away. That's not something that Willie Green can make him not do. Or you just drop a play for someone else. But if they were going for the 3, and it seemed like they were going to go for the 3 and just go for the win, and I kind of like that being on the road as the 8th seed, that play wasn't going to go to Brandon Ingram. Maybe it was just you should draw up a play for Trey Murphy, but maybe that was part of it too. So we won't really know because of the end result when it comes to that. But overall, I thought some of the coaching was good. One of the areas, late in game when it comes to execution that I think I really would have liked to have seen be different was, some of the offensive rebounding and second chance points in this one. The Pelicans did not do a good job of that at all. They had 18 offensive rebounds in this one, but were really limited to, I think it was 24 second chance points. I'll take the 24 second chance points, but on 18 offensive boards, it definitely needs to be a higher number than that, and you didn't get that from the Pelicans in this one. There was that one possession where they had 3 or 4 offensive rebounds late in the fourth quarter. At a certain point, when you realized they were struggling and just couldn't get a shot, call a timeout and just draw up a play after like the 3rd offensive rebound, right? And make sure you get a bucket there. He didn't. That's what I think I would have liked to have seen. And it was funny because they called a timeout like seconds into the second half. He used another timeout with about a minute to go in the first or second quarter. And it was like, in the first quarter, it was like, really? That's where you're going to use one? Some of the timeout management, I think, could be a little bit better, but that's nitpicking. The other thing you'd really like is you can't take that challenge home with you. When Shai scored that go-ahead bucket, that 3-point play, looking at it again, you don't really see much contact between CJ and him. I don't know where the foul is. You should probably challenge that. I get not using it earlier and trying to save it for the exact moment. You don't want to challenge a play that you're going to lose on just for the sake of challenging it. That doesn't do you any good. But I do think if there's a key play, challenge it. Especially if it's maybe borderline, and that one was, and you didn't see that. I'm not saying it cost the Pelicans the game directly on that or not. There's a million things that kind of did it, but that didn't do them any favors either. But overall thought the coaching was pretty good. He had the right guys out there. They limited Shai as much as you could. They used Jonas Valanciunas really well. You saw it at times. They were getting the ball to him. He was kicking it out. The ball was moving. You got good Larry minutes there too. You knew when to kind of take advantage of some of that. You pressed your advantage on the offensive glass. This was more about execution than coaching and why they lost. And that's not something that's on Willie Green. That's on the players. And that comes down to what I said repeatedly in the post-game reaction show. This comes down to the players, particularly Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum. They need to be better. They need to be better going into this game. It's as simple as that. Otherwise, it's going to raise some big questions about this core for the future. We're not there yet. We'll get there this offseason. Don't worry. We'll cover that here on Locked On Pelicans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. But this is where, we're going to find out what these guys are made of, what the coaching staff is made of. What are the adjustments that we're going to see? More on that in tomorrow's episode of Locked On Pelicans as we get you set with a preview for Game 2, because this is a winnable series for New Orleans. You don't feel like they are out of this one. I think that might have been their best chance to steal a game on the road, but you could still do it here too. A little bit better offense is going to go a long way with this team. It's going to make their defense better too. We've talked about that all year long. Defense to easy offense, but then when you score easy, your defense can get back and get set. Score some more points and can easily change the complexion of this game, this series. And I'm excited to see it on Wednesday night. So that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Pelicans. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, the #1 Pelicans podcast. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Join almost 10,000 Pelicans fans on YouTube as well. Let me know in the comments down below what's the biggest adjustment you want to see this team make. We're covering it all here, and I'll be back with you all tomorrow to preview Game 2 a little bit more.